The distant planet of Krylon lay quiet under its twin moons. The sky was dark, lit only by faint silver light and the shimmering trails of distant stars. The wind howled softly across jagged rocks, carrying dust that danced like tiny sparks. The planet seemed calm, almost peaceful, but Captain Liam knew better. He had heard the stories of predators, fierce, cunning, and patient hunters who expected easy prey. Humans had rarely come this far from Earth. Most explorers never returned from planets like Krylon. Yet Liam and his small crew had been sent here to investigate strange signals that seemed alive, pulsing with energy unlike anything known. They moved cautiously across the rocky surface, the ship's engines quiet now that they had landed. Emma walked beside Liam, scanning the horizon with sharp eyes. Jack adjusted the scanner on his shoulder while Clara quietly checked their weapons. Every step they took was careful, calculated, because on Krylon one mistake could cost a life. The predators had been waiting. Their eyes, sharp and glowing faintly in the dark, watched every movement of the humans. They were confident. After all, humans were not supposed to survive here. They thought of humans as soft, weak, and predictable, ready to be hunted for sport. Hunger burned in their veins, and each predator imagined the blood that would soon mark the rocks. They moved silently, their claws barely making a sound on the stones, shadows merging with the night. But Liam did not panic. He had faced danger before, though nothing like this. He remembered an old Earth rule taught by soldiers, hunters, and explorers for centuries. Survival favors patience and cunning. A human did not always survive by strength alone. Sometimes the mind was stronger than muscle, and careful planning could overcome the deadliest foe. Liam signaled for the team to stop. They crouched behind large boulders, just at the edge of the predator's sight. Emma whispered, "Do you think they've noticed us?" "Maybe," Liam said. "But that's fine. Let them think they are ahead. We watch first. We act when it is right." Jack frowned. "They look huge, Liam. Faster than anything we've faced." "That's why we don't fight yet," Liam replied calmly. "We watch, learn, and use the land. That is how humans survive, by knowing the ground beneath our feet and the enemy before our eyes." Clara adjusted her communicator. "Signals are getting stronger. Whatever is here, it's aware of us." "Yes," Liam said, his voice low. "But awareness can work both ways. Let's see what they do next." From the shadows, one predator moved closer. It was taller than a human, with muscles that flexed under thick, dark skin. Its eyes gleamed with hunger. It sniffed the air, sensing life, thinking it had found prey. Liam and his team stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. The predator paused, then moved on, convinced that nothing interesting was hiding here. "You see," Liam whispered. "Patience. Let them believe they are safe. Let them make the first mistake." Hours passed. The twins' moons moved slowly across the sky. The predators stalked silently, circling, testing, observing the humans from a distance. Liam's crew stayed hidden, barely moving, using the rocks and natural formations for cover. At one point, Emma noticed faint footprints, large clawed marks pressed deep into the dust. She traced them quietly, memorizing the pattern. "They're careful," she said. "They want us alive, at least for now. They're testing us." "That's exactly what we want," Liam said. "We need to know how they think, how they move. That is the first step to staying alive. Humans are not always the fastest, but we can be the smartest." As night deepened, the temperature dropped, and the wind carried a strange, sharp smell. Liam crouched low, listening. He could hear the faint clicks and growls of the predators, almost like whispers to each other. They were intelligent, not mindless beasts. They communicated, coordinated, and planned their attacks. Humans were outnumbered, and the predators expected blood tonight. But Liam remembered another Earth lesson: never underestimate patience. He spoke quietly to the team. "We will survive because we stay calm, because we watch, and because we think. We are not just running from them. We are learning. That is how humans have survived wars, hunts, and storms on Earth. Our minds are our greatest weapon." The crew nodded. Jack's hands clenched around his scanner, and Clara checked her weapon one last time. Emma's eyes scanned the horizon, alert and focused. Even the faintest movement or sound could change the outcome. Suddenly, one predator stepped onto an exposed rock. Its claws scraped sharply, echoing in the quiet night. It froze as if sensing something. Liam signaled subtly with his hand. The team remained motionless, hidden, while the predator studied the shadows. It let out a low growl, then moved away. The humans had not been seen. "Good," Liam whispered. "It's learning, and we are learning. That is all that matters tonight. We survive first. The rest comes later. Hours turned into a long night. Liam and his team explored small parts of the area, marking safe zones and possible escape routes. Each step was slow, careful. They collected data from the strange signals, mapping patterns and strange energy pulses that pulsed faintly from the rocks. Each observation brought more understanding. The predators circled, still hungry, still confident, but confused. Humans did not act like normal prey. They did not run, scream, or panic. They stayed hidden, patient, and quiet, as if they knew a secret the predators could not see. By the time the first rays of Krylon's sun began to appear on the horizon, the humans had made their plans. Liam looked at his crew, proud of their discipline. "We've survived the night," he said. "But survival is just the beginning. Tomorrow we learn more. Tomorrow we act when it is perfect." The predators, frustrated and hungry, retreated to higher rocks, watching, waiting for any small mistake. But the humans had followed Earth's oldest rule: patience, observation, and cunning. Liam smiled slightly. They expected blood. They expected us to panic. But humans do not always fight with force. Sometimes we fight with our minds. And that is how we survive. The team stayed one step ahead as the twin moons faded, ready for the days to come. On Krylon the hunt had begun, but the humans were not easy prey. They had learned the first rule of survival: never be predictable and never let fear guide your actions. As they prepared for the long day ahead, Liam felt a quiet confidence. The predators thought they were the hunters, but on Krylon, a new kind of human fight was beginning. And it would not be the kind the predators expected. The predators moved silently through the rocky terrain, their movements precise and calculated. They were confident and cruel, certain that the humans were no match for their speed and strength. Each predator had studied the humans landing, assuming they would be easy to overwhelm. Their eyes gleamed with hunger, and low growls echoed across the canyon, warning that any small mistake could be fatal. Liam crouched behind a large boulder with Emma, Jack, and Clara. He watched the predators' movements carefully. "They think they control this place," he whispered. "Let's show them how wrong they are." Emma nodded. Her hands moved quickly to set up a diversion. Small devices and mirrors they had carried from the ship caught the weak light from the twin moons and reflected it across the rocks. The flickering lights created shadows that danced and moved, like other humans running through the canyon. The predators froze as the lights moved. They hissed and growled, unsure which direction to strike. One predator lunged toward the nearest reflection, its claws scraping the rock sharply. Emma smirked. The predators were drawn into the canyon exactly as she had planned. Jack had spent hours preparing the canyon before they arrived. He had set small, nearly invisible traps, rocks rigged to fall, tripwires made from vines, and pits covered with thin layers of dirt and debris. Every trap used the natural environment, so the predators would not notice until it was too late. He watched the predators approach, heart steady, knowing that his careful planning would turn the hunters into the hunted. Clara stayed close to Jack, scanning the surroundings with a device that detected movement and heat. "They're walking right into it," she whispered. "Every step matches the pattern we predicted." Liam nodded. "Good. Keep calm and wait for the right moment. Patience wins." The first predator stepped into a shallow pit. Its foot slipped, and it let out a sharp roar as it struggled to free itself. The others turned toward the sound, unaware of the tripwires nearby. A vine tightened around another predator's leg, pulling it forward into a cluster of loose rocks that tumbled over it. Emma watched carefully, ready to trigger more diversions if necessary. The predators were not used to prey that fought back without attacking directly. They had expected humans to panic, to run, to fight with only brute force. Instead, these humans were clever. They had studied the land, learned its weaknesses, and used them as weapons. The predators' confidence began to falter, replaced by confusion and anger. Liam signaled for Emma to trigger another diversion. She activated a small flare, sending a bright light streaking across the canyon. The predators hissed and jumped back, their instincts telling them to chase what they thought was movement. Instead, they ran directly into the traps Jack had set. Rocks fell from above, rolling and tumbling to block their paths. Narrow escapes caused some predators to get tangled with their own momentum. Jack kept adjusting the traps silently. A simple rock placed in the right spot could cause a predator to stumble, giving the humans more control over the canyon. Every trap was carefully timed, every step planned to take advantage of the predator's speed and overconfidence. Clara whispered to Liam, "They're starting to hesitate. Their attacks are less organized. They're scared now but they don't know why." "Exactly," Liam said. "Fear is a tool. Use it wisely." Keep calm and stay hidden. Let them fall into our plan. The predators roared and circled, trying to regain control, but the humans stayed invisible. Each time a predator thought it had cornered a human, it ended up in a trap or tangled in a vine. One predator fell forward into a pit, its claws scraping uselessly against dirt. Another predator slipped on loose rocks, sliding down a small slope and crashing into a boulder. Emma smiled as she watched their confusion grow. The humans moved carefully through the canyon, always keeping themselves in safe positions. They did not engage the predators directly. Instead, they used intelligence, patience, and clever tricks to control the battlefield. Every step the predators took played into the humans' plan. Hours passed as the predators struggled to regain their advantage. Liam and his crew stayed hidden, watching. The predators' roars and growls grew louder, their movements frantic. They had expected blood and easy prey, but they were learning that humans were not simple creatures. They were unpredictable. They were intelligent. And most importantly, they were patient. Liam motioned for Emma to create another diversion. She threw a small device that released smoke and noise. The predators hissed and charged blindly into another trap Jack had set. Rocks tumbled, vines tightened, and one predator became completely tangled. Its frustration was clear. The humans were still invisible, calm, and in control. Clara whispered, "It's working. They're scared now. They don't know what's real and what's not." "Good," Liam said softly. "Confusion is our friend. Keep the pressure. We don't attack yet, we let them fight themselves." By the time the canyon's shadows began to fade in the weak light of Krylon's sun, the predators were exhausted. Their muscles ached from constant movement, their confidence shattered. One by one they struggled to free themselves from the traps, hissing and growling, but never understanding fully how the humans had outsmarted them. Emma signaled to Liam. "They're slowing down. Now is the time to prepare for what comes next." Liam nodded. "Remember, we don't need to fight them to survive. We only need to survive them." They expected blood. They expected chaos. Instead, we've turned the trap into our advantage. The humans took careful steps back, leaving the canyon quietly. The predators continued to struggle, unaware that they had been outsmarted at every turn. What the predators had assumed would be an easy hunt had become a lesson in patience and cunning. Jack smiled quietly. "I never thought I'd see the day when a trap could beat a predator like that." Clara laughed softly. "They thought they were the hunters, but we controlled every move they made." Emma shook her head, still alert. "We have to stay ready. They may recover and come after us again." Liam placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We survived the first strike. That's the important part. Humans survive not by strength alone, but by thinking, planning, and using what we know. That's why we are still here. That's why we win when others expect failure." The predators roared in frustration, their anger echoing across the canyon, but the humans were gone, leaving only the faintest footprints behind. They had set the stage for the next encounter, one where they would always have the advantage. The lesson was clear. Humans may not be the strongest or the fastest, but they were the smartest. They could turn any environment into a weapon, any situation into a trap. The predators expected blood and fear, but instead, they had been trapped by intelligence and patience. Liam looked at his team, pride in his eyes. "They will think twice before hunting humans again. And we will be ready for whatever comes next." Encounter one where they would always have the advantage. The lesson was clear. Humans may not be the strongest or the fastest, but they were the smartest. They could turn any environment into a weapon, any situation into a trap. The predators expected blood and fear, but instead, they had been trapped by intelligence and patience. Liam looked at his team, pride in his eyes. "They will think twice before hunting humans again. And we will be ready for whatever comes next." The canyon returned to silence, save for the groans and frustrated hisses of the predators. Emma, Jack, Clara, and Liam moved carefully toward a small ridge, scanning the horizon for further danger. They knew the predators would recover, but they also knew that patience and cunning had won the first round. For now, humans had survived the trap they had been forced into. And in doing so, they had reminded the predators, and perhaps the galaxy, that humans were clever, patient, and unpredictable. The predators were scattered across the canyon, still recovering from the traps that had caught them the night before. Their roars echoed against the rocks, frustration mixing with pain. They had not expected such clever prey, and now their confidence had begun to waver. Liam and his crew had waited patiently, watching, listening, and learning from every movement the predators made. Clara crouched behind a boulder, her fingers moving quickly over a small device. "I can hack their communication," she whispered. If I send false signals, they will think each other are attacking and they will turn on each other. Liam nodded, his eyes scanning the rocky ridges. Do it. Make them think they are in danger. Fear and confusion are just as powerful as weapons. Emma adjusted her visor, watching the predators through her scope. They're already hesitant. A little trick could make them panic. Clara activated her device. Small signals jumped from her console into the predators' communication channels. Moments later, the predators began reacting oddly. One hissed and turned sharply toward another, thinking it had been attacked. A low growl spread, followed by confusion. The predators began moving in chaotic patterns, unsure who was friend or foe. Liam whispered to his team, "Perfect. This is our chance. We don't attack all at once. We strike strategically, silently, and we use the land." Jack adjusted the traps they had left the night before. Small rocks, vines, and narrow paths had been designed to guide the predators where the humans wanted them. Liam had studied the terrain carefully. Every cliff, boulder, and canyon curve could be used as a weapon if humans moved correctly. The first predator stumbled over a vine and fell toward a narrow ravine. Another tried to help, only to slip on loose stones. Confused and panicked, they had no idea that humans were controlling their movements from the shadows. Emma motioned to Liam. "They're moving exactly where we want them. Shall we begin?" Liam smiled slightly. "Not yet. We wait for the right moment. Patience wins battles." For hours the humans watched and waited. Every predator movement was calculated, every misstep guided by the humans' traps and tactics. The predators expected blood in the first minutes of the encounter, but they found only confusion. Their hunger burned, their muscles tensed, but they could not find the humans. Finally, Liam decided the time had come. He gave a small hand signal. The team moved like shadows across the rocks. They stayed low, silent, and invisible, each step carefully placed. They used guerrilla tactics humans had perfected over centuries: ambushes, surprise attacks, and knowledge of the land itself. The first predator came into view, unaware of the humans hiding on a ridge above. Liam gave a nod. Jack released a small rock, sending it tumbling down toward the predator. It snarled and leapt back, right into a narrow trap of vines that Emma had prepared. It struggled, thrashing violently, but the trap held it firmly. Clara moved quickly to another boulder. She activated a device that made a predator think it was being surrounded. Its eyes darted back and forth and it growled nervously. Another predator nearby reacted violently, thinking its companion was under attack. Chaos erupted among them. Liam whispered, "See? We don't fight with strength. We fight with brains, patience, and timing. Every move is calculated." The predators, once confident, were now hesitant. They circled and hissed, unsure where the humans were. Their communication devices still broadcast false signals, making them think enemies were attacking from all directions. Each predator began to fight the wrong battle, and every mistake they made played into the humans' plan. Emma moved silently along a ridge, taking note of their positions. "They don't know where we are. They are completely confused." "Good," Liam said. "Keep it that way. Let fear guide them, not us." The humans set small fires in safe zones, creating smoke that twisted through the canyon. The smoke changed the shadows, making the predators think humans were in different locations. They ran toward the smoke, only to stumble over hidden rocks or trip into natural pits. Jack's traps continued to guide them like a well-planned map. Hours passed. The predators' energy began to fade. Their roars became weaker, their movements slower. They had expected an easy hunt, a quick kill, but now they were exhausted, panicked, and frustrated. Liam motioned for Emma. "Take the left flank. Drive them toward the canyon exit. Keep them contained." Emma nodded and moved silently. She released small flares and lights, drawing predators toward the canyon's narrowest passages. One predator charged blindly into a trap Jack had set, hitting a rock and tumbling into a small depression. Its companions froze, unsure how to help without falling into more traps. Clara continued sending false signals. "They are fighting each other now. Confusion is complete." "Yes," Liam said softly. "This is exactly what we needed. Let them destroy their own confidence while we remain calm." The humans moved strategically, using every skill they had learned on Earth. They stayed low, stayed hidden, and attacked only when necessary. They guided the predators' movements, controlled the battlefield, and forced the enemies to make mistakes. Every predator that slipped, stumbled, or fell strengthened the humans' advantage. By midday, the predators were wary and exhausted. They no longer charged blindly. They hesitated at every step, unsure where danger lurked. Liam looked at his team, pride in his eyes. We have forced them to fight on our terms, he said. They expected blood in the first minutes. They did not get it. And that is why we are still alive. Jack laughed quietly. They think they are hunting us, but really we are hunting them, with their own fear and confusion. Emma smirked. They underestimated us. That's their mistake. Humans don't just fight. We survive and outthink the enemy. Clara glanced at Liam. They're getting weaker, slower. Their mistakes are getting bigger. If we continue like this, we can control them completely. Liam nodded. Yes. But we do not attack recklessly. We strike only when the moment is perfect. That is the oldest Earth rule. Know your enemy, use the land, and strike when they are weakest. The predators tried to regroup, forming small packs and circling each other. But the humans anticipated every move. Fires, lights, smoke, and traps guided the predators exactly where the humans wanted them. One predator tried to ambush another, only to trip and fall into a narrow canyon ledge. Another predator miscalculated its jump and landed awkwardly, injuring a leg. Liam's team moved carefully through the rocky ridges, observing and adjusting. Every human step was quiet, but every predator step was loud, awkward, and full of mistakes. Each predator had expected the humans to panic or run, but the humans were calm, controlled, and patient. By late afternoon, the predators were broken in spirit, even if not physically. Their confidence had been shattered. They moved slowly, growling in frustration, constantly checking each other's positions, unsure of where to strike. Liam finally spoke to the team. They are tired, confused, and scared. But we must stay vigilant. Our goal is not to destroy them, but to survive and control this fight. They expected an easy victory. They got the opposite. That is why we win. Emma whispered, they will never think humans are easy prey again. No, Liam said. And that is the lesson we must carry forward. Humans survive not because we are the strongest, but because we are smart, patient, and united. That is what they forget when they hunt us. Clara continued monitoring their devices. They are exhausted. Their communication is chaotic. They cannot coordinate properly. If we need to strike now, we could finish this quickly. Liam shook his head. Not yet. We keep them alive but broken in mind and spirit. That will teach the galaxy something about humans they cannot forget. We strike only when necessary. Knowledge and patience are our weapons. As the twin moons began to appear on the horizon again, Liam surveyed the battlefield. The predators were scattered, unsure, and wary. The humans had turned the first attack into a complete counterstrike without ever revealing their true strength. Jack whispered, "It's incredible. They came here thinking we were prey, but we controlled the fight the entire time." Yes, Liam said. And they will remember this lesson forever. Humans do not give up. Humans do not panic. Humans use their minds as weapons. The predators retreated slightly, unwilling to make any rash moves. Liam and his crew stayed hidden, watching every motion. They had forced the predators to fight on human terms, and now the humans were in full control. Liam looked at the team and smiled. Today we did more than survive. We taught them patience, cunning, and fear. That is the oldest rule of Earth. Know your enemy, use the land, and strike when it is weakest. Never forget it. The humans moved silently toward higher ground, ready for the next challenge, but confident that the predators would think twice before trying to hunt humans again. The counterstrike had worked. Their intelligence had turned the tide. The predators moved cautiously now. Days had passed since the humans had first arrived on Krylon, and the predators were no longer confident. Their once proud roars had grown quieter, their movements slower and more hesitant. Every step they took seemed to carry the weight of uncertainty. They had come expecting easy prey, confident that humans could be hunted and killed quickly. But their arrogance had been their downfall. Emma, Liam, Jack, and Clara watched from the rocks above. They had spent days studying the predators' patterns, learning their strengths and understanding their weaknesses. Every trap they had set, every diversion they had planned had led to this moment. The humans had survived not because of strength, but because of patience, cunning, and careful planning. Emma glanced at Liam. They've learned something, she said quietly. They know now that they underestimated us. Liam nodded. Yes. And now it is time to show them what humans really are. Not with weapons but with strategy and intelligence. The predator's leader emerged from the shadow of a cliff. He was larger than the others, with dark scales and sharp claws that gleamed in the weak sunlight. His eyes were filled with suspicion and anger. He had been the first to expect easy victory, and now he realized that the humans were nothing like the prey he had imagined. Emma stepped forward from the ridge, standing tall and calm. She did not carry a weapon. Her hands were empty and her posture was steady. She wanted the predators to understand that humans relied on more than brute force. "You expected easy prey," Emma said calmly. Her voice carried across the rocky valley. "You thought humans would run, panic, and die quickly. But Earth taught us a different way. We survive by being clever, united, and unpredictable." The predator leader hissed, a sound that mixed fear and anger. He could not understand how humans had turned his attacks against him. Every ambush had been avoided, every trap had been predicted, and every diversion had worked perfectly. Humans had learned his moves faster than he could change them. Liam moved quietly beside Emma. He did not speak, but his presence reinforced her words. Jack and Clara stayed hidden, ready to support, but letting Emma take the lead. The humans wanted this moment to be clear. Survival was more than strength. It was intelligence, unity, and strategy. The predator leader's companions moved closer, forming a semicircle around their leader. Their claws scraped against rocks, and their low growls filled the air. They were not attacking, but they were wary, unsure if they should trust their instincts. They had never seen prey act like this. They had never encountered creatures who used the land and the mind as a weapon. Emma continued, her voice steady. "You thought strength alone would win. You thought numbers and claws would be enough. But humans are not just about fighting. We think, we plan, and we work together. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive." The predators were stunned. Their sharp teeth, their claws, their speed, none of it had been enough. They had underestimated humans in every way. They had expected easy blood, but instead they faced strategy, patience, and intelligence. Liam finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Humans respect strength. We do not ignore it. But strength alone does not make us survive. Wisdom does. Planning does. Understanding our enemy does. That is why we are still here, and that is why you will think twice before underestimating any human again." The predator leader stared at Emma and Liam. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time he seemed uncertain. He had never faced a creature who could turn fear and traps into a weapon. He realized that humans were different from every species he had hunted. Jack stepped out slightly, showing the predators that the humans were united. "We survive together," he said simply. "We watch each other. We plan together. Alone, a human is strong. Together, we are unstoppable." Clara added, "And we are unpredictable. You never know what we will do next. You can watch our movements, track our paths, and still be wrong. That is how humans win." The predators hissed softly, confused. They had never considered that survival could come from intelligence rather than strength. They had never been hunted like this before. Every instinct they had relied upon failed because the humans had thought ahead, used the land, and worked as a team. Emma moved closer, her gaze fixed on the predator leader. "You expected easy prey, but you forgot one thing. Humans do not just survive. We learn, adapt, and improve. Every mistake you made was a lesson for us. Every trap you tried was a challenge we turned into an advantage. That is why we are still standing." The predator leader growled, but it was quieter now. He realized that the humans had not only survived, they had outsmarted his entire hunting party. Their patience, cunning, and unity had turned the hunters into the hunted. Liam spoke again. "Your strength is impressive. Your speed is remarkable. But what you lacked was understanding. You assumed we would act like prey. You assumed we would panic. You assumed we were weak. That is your mistake. Humans are clever. Humans are patient. And humans survive." The predator's confidence had been broken. They no longer moved forward aggressively. They hesitated, unsure of what action to take. Their minds were filled with questions they could not answer. How had these humans turned traps, distractions, and fear into weapons? How had they predicted every move? Emma looked around at the rocky terrain. "We did not need to fight you directly," she said. "We did not need to attack with our claws or our weapons. We used our minds and we used the land. That is the oldest rule of Earth. Observe, learn, and strike at the right moment." The predators remained silent for a long moment. They had expected a bloody victory, and instead, they had been taught a lesson they could not ignore. Humans had survived because they were intelligent, united, and strategic. They had respected the predator's strength but had relied on wisdom to overcome it. Liam nodded. "Remember this," he said. "Strength is important, but it is not everything. Knowledge, planning, and unity are stronger. That is how humans survive. That is how we thrive. And that is why you will never hunt humans without thinking twice." The predator leader lowered his head slightly, acknowledging for the first time that the humans were worthy adversaries. He had expected prey, but he found creatures who could turn fear into strategy, traps into advantage, and confusion into control. Emma stepped back, letting her words sink in. She had not drawn a weapon. She had not needed to. Intelligence and strategy had done what force alone could not. Jack and Clara joined her, forming a united front. Together they were calm, patient, and confident. They had survived, and they had taught the predators a lesson that would not be forgotten. The predators remained wary, watching every movement, realizing that humans were not simple creatures. They were clever, patient, and united. Their strength was not just physical but mental. Every predator in the group now understood that humans could not be underestimated. Emma spoke one last time. We respect strength. We honor it. But survival requires more than power. It requires wisdom, teamwork, and unpredictability. That is what Earth taught us. That is what we carry with us wherever we go. The predators stayed silent, stunned by the humans' calm and clarity. They had assumed humans would rely on brute force or panic in fear. Instead, they had faced strategy, intelligence, and patience. The lesson had been clear. Humans were not easy prey, and their survival depended on more than just fighting. Liam looked at the predators and then back at his team. This is the lesson, he said. We survive by thinking, by planning, and by being united. Strength alone is not enough. Wisdom is our weapon, patience is our shield, and unity is our strength. That is why humans endure. The predators, though still powerful, had learned a new respect for humans. They understood that hunting humans required more than speed or claws. Humans had survived, outsmarted, and remained calm under pressure. Their intelligence had turned the tables, and their unity had made them unstoppable. Emma and her team stepped away slowly, giving the predators space to reflect. They had proven their point. They had survived, not through violence alone, but through strategy, intelligence, and unity. The predators would remember this day, and they would never underestimate humans again. Liam whispered to his team, "Today we have shown them what it means to face humans. Not just prey but thinkers, planners, and survivors. That is our true power." The predators retreated slowly, wary and silent. The humans watched them go, knowing they had earned their respect without a single direct fight. And in that quiet moment on the rocky planet of Krylon, the humans understood something more. Survival was not about fear or strength, it was about intelligence, patience, and working together. That was the greatest lesson of all. The humans climbed aboard their ship in silence. The predators, still scattered across the rocky terrain of Krylon, had retreated, unwilling to risk another encounter. Their leader cast one last glance at the humans before disappearing into the shadows. The hunters had come expecting an easy prey, but they had left with a lesson they would never forget. Liam stood at the ship's viewing deck, his hands resting on the railing as he watched Krylon shrink beneath them. The twin moons reflected softly on the ship's hull, and the distant stars stretched endlessly across the void. He felt a quiet pride, not for the victory itself, but for the lesson they had taught. Humans had not simply survived. They had outsmarted a deadly force, relying on patience, intelligence, and unity rather than brute strength. Emma joined him, her eyes scanning the planet below. "It's strange," she said softly. "We fought, but we didn't really fight. We survived by thinking. We didn't need weapons, just our minds and our teamwork." Liam nodded. "That's how humans always survive. Strength matters, yes, but more important is the ability to adapt, to learn, to plan, and to act together. We've done more than survive on Krylon. We've shown what humans are capable of." Jack walked up behind them, a small smile on his face. "Do you think the predators will ever come back?" "Maybe," Liam said, "but they will be different. They won't underestimate humans again. We've changed how they see us. And it isn't just them. Other species across the galaxy will hear of this too." Stories travel fast, especially when someone turns a hunt into a lesson. Clara joined the group, leaning against the railing. "They're going to spread the word, won't they? Humans who survive by outthinking the hunters instead of fighting them directly. It will make other species curious, maybe even respectful." Emma smiled faintly. "It's strange to think that just by surviving carefully, we've become legends." Liam's gaze lingered on Krylon. The rocky canyons, the traps they had set, the shadows where the predators had lurked, it all felt like a memory etched in their minds. "Legends aren't about glory," he said quietly. "They're about proving something larger than ourselves. We've shown that patience, intelligence, and unity can overcome even the deadliest foes. That's the real story." The ship's engines hummed softly, ready to lift off. The crew prepared for departure, securing equipment and checking systems. Every action was precise, a reflection of the discipline they had followed on the ground. Humans survived not just by reacting, but by planning, observing, and moving deliberately. Every step they had taken had been measured, and every action had contributed to their success. As Krylon grew smaller beneath them, the crew's minds wandered to the wider galaxy. They knew that other species would hear the tale soon. The predators would carry it first, recounting how humans had survived the impossible, not through raw strength, but through cleverness and unity. And once other species heard the story, humans would not be seen as easy prey ever again. Emma leaned forward, her eyes thoughtful. Do you think they'll understand it? That humans survive through intelligence, not just weapons and muscle? Liam smiled. They will. They may not like it at first, but they will respect it. They'll see that humans don't follow the usual rules. Humans use the environment, the mind, and teamwork to survive. That's something every predator, every species will eventually understand. And if they don't, they'll learn the hard way. Jack shook his head with a grin. I never thought I'd see the day when surviving meant more than fighting. We've outsmarted predators. That's insane. Clara laughed softly. Not insane. That's human. That's how we've survived on Earth for thousands of years. And now we've taken that to another planet. Liam placed a hand on the railing, staring into the distance. We've followed the oldest rule of Earth. Observe. Plan. Use the land. Work together. Strike when the moment is right. We didn't just survive, we showed what humans are capable of. That is the legacy we leave on Krylon. The predators below had no idea how close they had come to defeat. They had thought they were in control, but the humans had quietly guided every moment. Every trap, every diversion, every observation had been a lesson in patience and strategy. The predators would never forget it. Their arrogance had been broken, and the humans had proven that intelligence could outmatch brute strength. Emma gazed out of the viewing window as the ship climbed higher. I wonder if anyone will believe it. That humans survived without a fight just by thinking. They will, Liam said. Legends grow from truth. And this is true. Humans survived, turned the hunter's strength against them, and left the planet unscathed. That is worth telling. Jack leaned back, folding his arms. So what now? We go home, and the galaxy knows humans are not to be underestimated. Yes, Liam said. But more than that, we've reminded ourselves of what humans are capable of. Strength, courage, and teamwork are important, but intelligence, patience, and strategy are what make humans survive, no matter how deadly the challenge. Clara added softly, it's more than a victory. It's a lesson, for them and for us. Humans don't just fight to live. Humans think, plan, and adapt. That's our advantage. The crew stood together quietly, watching Krylon shrink beneath them. They had been tested, pushed to their limits, and had survived without surrendering to fear. Every move had been precise, every decision measured, and every trap and diversion had worked exactly as planned. They had faced predators who expected easy kills, and they had turned the situation into a demonstration of human ingenuity. As they left the planet's atmosphere, Liam's voice carried across the deck. Let this be our reminder: patience wins. Intelligence wins. Unity wins. Humans endure not because we are the strongest, but because we are smart, careful, and together. That is the legacy we carry into the galaxy. Emma smiled, a quiet confidence in her eyes. And now the galaxy will know it too. Jack leaned on the railing, watching the stars. It's strange, isn't it? We didn't fight with weapons, but we still won. That's what makes humans dangerous. Yes, Liam said. Not because we hurt, but because we think. We survive. And that is something no predator, no matter how strong, can ignore. The ship glided smoothly into orbit, leaving Krylon behind. The predators had returned to the shadows, humbled, wary, and forever changed in their view of humans. Across the galaxy, the story would spread. Aliens would speak of humans who survived impossible hunts, not through strength but through patience, intelligence, and unity. Humans would no longer be underestimated. Emma, Liam, Jack, and Clara stood together, silent for a moment, letting the weight of their actions sink in. They had done more than survive, they had shown what it truly meant to be human. Every challenge, every trap, every careful move had proved a single truth. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and united. Liam finally broke the silence. This is our legacy. Not the fight, not the blood, but the lesson we leave behind. Patience, intelligence, and unity overcome even the deadliest foes. That is what humans represent. That is how we endure. And that is how we will be remembered. The crew nodded quietly. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown challenges and possibilities. But for now, Krylon was behind them, and the humans had proven themselves in a way that would echo across the galaxy. Even as the predators retreated and other species began to hear the tale, one fact remained clear: humans were not just survivors. Humans were thinkers, planners, and fighters in their own way. And that combination made them something far more dangerous than brute strength alone could ever achieve. As the ship entered faster-than-light travel, leaving Krylon in distant memory, the humans looked back one last time. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had turned hunters into students of strategy. And across the galaxy the message would spread: underestimate humans at your own peril.